Well, one way to make sure that science really does link with the community, the wider world, is through science centres, of course. Today, let me tell you that there are 100 Planet Under Pressure themed debates going on at science centres around the world. I'm very happy to introduce Mrs. Margit Fischer, who of course is the First Lady of Austria, but that's not why she's here. She's here to address us in her capacity as the President of the Austrian Science Centre Network. Mrs. Fischer, we're so pleased you could come.
Thank you so much. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, 100 years ago, the Austro-Hungarian Empire was under pressure, but the necessary actions were taken too weak, too late, and too slow. These unsolved problems led directly into World War I and the collapse of the empire. Now our whole planet is under pressure, but for different reasons. And once again, the necessary actions have been too weak, too late, and too slow yet. In a word, insufficient. It is true. The science of sustainable development is complex. The general public must be aware of the issues, understand the interrelatedness of science, economy, and society, and consider what role they can play. Science centers, as public institutions, are ideally suited for conveying scientific complexity in an inspiring, understandable way to people of all ages. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm speaking today not primarily as wife of the Austrian President and chairwoman of the Austrian Science Center Network, but mainly on behalf of the international Science Center community. Our common goal is to strengthen the position of science centers as active and successful players in the Rio+20 process and beyond. What are science centers? Science centers are unique in that they convey information in a hands-on, memorable, and social way. They are safe places to be curious, pose questions, and use scientific reasoning to grasp difficult concepts. These are venues where we don't confuse opinion with fact. Science, like music, is a global language. It is a language that is spoken in 3,000 science centers and museums, actively engaging over 300 million people per year in over 90 countries. Our visitors are children and teenagers, the critical agents of change. Teachers, we complement and enrich their approach. Adults, we equip them to grasp the many dimensions of science. Visitors to science centers become better informed, responsible citizens who actively contribute to solutions and understand the relationship between science and society. Let me illustrate the diversity of our Science Center community and its activities. One example I personally witnessed during a school workshop in Vienna was that of a 13-year-old boy experimenting with the effects of melting ice cubes on water level. Afterwards, he concluded, through his own reasoning, that climate change will lead to more migration, even in the middle of Europe, as cities such as Berlin might be flooded. Can we assess the impact of a science center community? Yes, we can. Studies from around the world show significant evidence that science centers provide memorable learning experiences which have a lasting impact on attitudes and behavior, and that science centers promote trust and understanding between the public and the scientific communities. Ladies and gentlemen, the success of the Earth Summit in Rio in June later this year depends on collaboration among institutions, the public and private sectors, policymakers and scientists. The cooperation is urgently needed. As the UN Committee for Sustainable Development Education Group acknowledges, the majority of the environmental education occurs outside the classroom. Science centers are at the very heart of this, and it is why we want to work with you, the delegates of this conference. Together, we can ensure that education finds its rightful place in the Rio +20 process. This map demonstrates our powerful support for the scientific community gathered here. You can see hundreds of science centers in most parts of the world, engaging with millions of people on the issues that put our planet under pressure under the banner of this conference. As this map shows, the worldwide science center and museum community is powerful and ready for action. Success to us would look like this: a plan to harness this momentum and be a partner in advancing the agenda that emerges from the conference and from Rio in June. We call for a strategic plan that channels the energy of science centers and museums to advance a UN outreach strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude by saying that our vision is to move toward a sustainable world. We all hope for a powerful plan of action, but even the most ambitious program will need to be complemented by effective public engagement. This is what science centers bring to the table. Thank you for your attention.
Mrs. Fischer, that was really inspiring. I just want to put a question to you before you leave, which has come from...
No micro.
Off you go. It's come from Andrew Shaw from the National Oceanography Centre in the UK. And he says, you're right, children are the fundamental instruments of change. So can you tell us more about how we can engage better with kids?
I think we have to talk with kids on an eye level. And if we don't talk with kids in all ages, then we are lost. We have to take them as a power group. And we have to break down scientific knowledge so kids can understand, and they understand very, very much.
Does it make a difference, another questioner asks, that kids are now almost born digital?
No, I think we have to really to meet them in their curiosity. And we have to meet them and to show them, to bring near to them that scientific thinking is what we need in this society. And that this scientific thinking is not only limited to natural sciences or social sciences or environmental sciences, but also to politics. And then our politicians will understand which way they should go and how they should decide.
Thank you. I'm sure David Willits would agree with that. Mrs. Fischer, thank you so very much.